When something is so mouth-wateringly juicy, so satisfyingly crispy, so perfectly hand-breaded that you just want it all to yourself, you don't have to share, but it'd be a lot cooler if you did. The new Zax's Pack for 2. With 8 chicken fingers, double the fries, 2 drinks, and that world-famous Zax sauce. Twice the flavor for just $14.99. Only at Zaxby's. Try it with fried pickles for a limited time. Order ahead, drive-thru, or get it delivered.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, probably presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good, also, a.k.a. what Daddy had for dinner on Sunday. Fingers and Zax sauce. It's pretty much my diet these days. I work for Warchant.com still, thankfully, as well as Corey Clark. Use the promo code Warchant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. And get yourself that special that's going on right now for 2 folks. All the stuff you get, the toast, the fingers, the sauces. I mean, why even think? Seriously, Mondays. When you were married, when you were domesticated, Clark, Corey, was Monday right? Like usually like the takeout day? Like I'm not cooking, Shanna. Like I'm gonna go forage for food in the wilderness for us today. Was Monday that day for you folks?
No, and it's sad that we won't ever have Shanna on the show. But if she was, she would say that every night was Corey cooking.
Yeah,
like that's my home. That's where I feel. That's where I feel most at home is in the kitchen. Just love try new dishes, getting on the internet, getting a cookbook, trying to whip up something for the whole family. So we never went out. But now that I'm living the batch life, well, with a 3-year girlfriend. By the way, our 3rd-year anniversary was Stephanie and I's 3rd-year anniversary was last week.
Amazing, fantastic, congrats, man.
We did it. Here's to another 3, Steph.
Let's do it.
Let's make the next 3 better than the last 3. But what I was going to say about Zaxby's is that Brady had his first baseball tournament this weekend, and in between games, one of the games, there was a big enough gap that I went to this town up in North Georgia where this tournament was, and I wanted to get Zaxby's, but the line was out almost onto the road.
Let's go!
So I went to another establishment instead.
Well,
but the thought that's I was in the mood for it. I really wanted it, but I'm telling you, the line was almost onto the road. It was like 22 cars deep. So I was like, nope, we'll get it next time.
All right. Well, next time would be today.
That's right.
So make it happen. Everybody's well.
Oh, and one other thing, I just wanted to point this out.
Sure.
This was on a Sunday that I was able to go. I didn't go inside, and I didn't actually stay, but there were all those cars in line on a Sunday that got to actually eat chicken sandwiches and stuff. Just throwing that out there.
Hey, I don't want to go too far into Dad Corner. How did Brady do, though? Can you give us like a 45-second synopsis? Something less than a minute?
Crushed it. Had a really good tournament. Hit the ball well. A guy almost got his first home run. Hit the fence on a laser beam. Played really hard.
Brady Clark is back.
He is back, but so he got really hot. It was a really hot when they had 3 games on Saturday and 3 games on Sunday, and he caught and pitched on Saturday, so he got overheated a little bit. Oh. And me being not the best dad in the world, for dinner I got him a meatball sub, and then he had a bunch of Gatorade and some vitamin waters, and then he had about a Powerade. Sorry, it actually was Powerade. I don't know why I said Gatorade. It had about a 5-minute vomiting session late Saturday night, but he was fine. Like literally, he was done. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna go back and play video games."
Nice, puke and rally.
Just straight up. Like I think I'm gonna throw up. Throws up back to playing video games, and then Sunday he got the worst case of crotch rash.
Okay, we're about in a minute, man. I mean, with that, did we need to go?
No. Listen. So he had to be. Anybody listen to this that's ever played sports or just been hot knows what that feels like. And so I just want to paint the scene real here. We're driving back to the park after lunch. I look in the rear view. He's got some baby powder, but he's taken his pants off and his underwear off, and has his knees out. And is dousing himself with baby powder, butt naked from the waist down, as a truck drives past us on the right. They can see in. So that was a good moment in Clark family history. And I'm like, Brady, cover yourself, man. Those people can see into the window. And yeah. So anyway, that was my weekend. 12 hours at the ball field.
Fantastic. Dad of the year.
I did it.
One day in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other. All right. So we will have some recruiting news that's a little bit dated, though, by the time you listen to this probably. It'll be at the end of the podcast with Michael Langston. Florida State got a commitment on Sunday from a defensive back out of Lehigh Acres, Florida.
Where is that,
Cooper.
Aslan? Where's Lehigh Acres?
It's Fort Myers-ish.
Okay.
It's actually, I think, the home of one Mario Henderson, a.k.a. Supa Mario Henderson. Not Super, Supa.
He had a little run in the NFL, didn't he? I feel like he played for a few years in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's vested. Yeah, he was with the Raiders for a bit. He was like a third or fourth round pick, I think, was he not?
Yeah.
He actually, drafted fairly respectably in there. So, 3-star defensive back. Michael Langston will give his breakdown at the end of the podcast, and depending on when you listen to this on Monday, there's also a chance that Florida State probably will be getting another commitment. I don't want to give it away because I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't want to spoil it because you should have to pay for this sort of information. If you go to the PRB, the Premium Recruiting Board over on Warchant.com, I don't know, but I would imagine that Michael Langston's probably hinted at who it's going to be. So do stay connected with that. We'll probably have a reaction video. Actually, I know I'll have a reaction video because as soon as I'm done doing this podcast, I'm going to record a video with Michael Langston. So there you go, pulling the curtain back, letting you know how it goes. However, though, somebody did ask us this, I think, on the happy hour that we did Friday, Corey, with you, myself, Gene Williams, and Irish O'Fell, about whether or not this would maybe affect recruiting, and by it would be the Mike Norvell and Marvin Wilson situation that happened late last week, where it looked bad for a minute there, but it seemed to have kind of smoothed over quite nicely. Marvin, made a video and thanked his coach for standing by him and things of that nature. And we're not going to get into who's right, wrong, or all that kind of stuff. But I think some people are asked about whether or not that would affect recruiting. They pulled the commitment down on Sunday, but however, the number one tight end in the state of Florida, who actually was kind of one of the guys that Michael was thinking would perhaps be the next commitment, like who was on commit watch, as they say in the industry, Michael Trigg, who played at Seffner Christian and has transferred to some other private institution in Central Florida. But anywho, he released a top 10, and Florida State was not in it.
Ooh.
So,
all right,
these things happen.
They do.
But it's June, right? It's June right now. So December's a long way away, and even February is even further away than that. So, but yeah, it was a bit curious to see that. He was quoted, I think, in talking to a reporter in Central Florida and outside of Tampa Bay about he was transferring from one school to another right now, and apparently said that he didn't feel like he was being welcomed, or he didn't fit the culture that well at the previous institution that he was at, and sort of, I think, intimated that maybe there was a little bit of a racial component, even though the headmaster from the school said that there was no bad blood, and they gave him his transcript, and he requested his transcript and permission to transfer out before the situation occurred with Marvin and Mike Norvell. So take that with whatever you want to process. But I figured we'd just go ahead and, at least since we're on the recruiting tip, mention that. How about this, though? Everybody keeps worrying about the way Florida State's portrayed nationally, and I don't think Florida State really took much of a beating about the whole Marvin and Mike Norvell thing, nor do I think they really had to because of the way it was all handled. But our friends in Clemson have been under siege, and a lot of people are taking delight in that because, as a rival, that's what you're supposed to do. What do you make of everything that's happened in Clemson, like in the last 3 or 4 days? Because it hasn't just been one thing. They're sort of piling up.
I mean, to me, it almost sounds like you got to fire Dabo.
Come on.
I don't know what at this point. It's almost like you don't have another choice. It's just a delicate time in our history, man. It's a delicate time in this country right now. Again, landscape seems to be shifting, and I'm not educated enough. Yeah, and I'm not educated enough to talk about Dabo's feelings necessarily, but I do think Dabo is a good person. I do think I've always gotten the impression that he does care for his players, and he's built that family. I don't think he could dupe that many people. I think there's a lot of genuineness. I think that's a word, genuineness to him and what he's built. But he's had a couple missteps here. I guess he hasn't. I don't think he ever addressed the assistant coach thing. I certainly can see why people might take umbrage with him wearing a shirt like that. For the people that don't know, go look it up. But, I also can see the other side where he didn't even think about it. Like, it was a shirt he's had for a while. I think they sold him at some coaches convention or something, or so he got it from somewhere a while ago and has worn it a lot. I don't think it's like it might just be in his rotation on the beach. I don't know, but it was a little tone deaf maybe. But again, it's also, to me anyway, man, Dabo's on the top of the mountain, so it's a lot easier to aim at the dude that's standing on the top of the mountain because he's out there for everybody to see. And that's my thoughts on it. I don't think it's that big a deal. I don't think it's gonna. Let me put it this way: I don't mean it like that. I'm not trying to dismiss it if people had a problem with it. I don't think it's going to crush Clemson. How are they doing in recruiting? Are they losing recruits? Are they all jumping off the boat?
They're not. I don't think the Trigg kid though has Clemson in his top 10, so that's at least pretty good. My whole question was, and again, the shirt says "Football Matters." So
football lives matter, I think.
No, it just says "Football Matters." It didn't say "Football Lives." It just said
I thought it said "Football Lives Matter."
No, it wasn't that big of. He's not that big of a clown.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, though, the person who tweeted that. See, my whole thing was I don't even know when that photo was taken. Apparently, the person who tweeted said that I guess he bumped into him on Saturday or something like that, or it was posted on a Saturday. But I don't know when. It could have been taken 2 years ago, and he just kind of pulled it out of nowhere. But anyhow, the person who tweeted that apparently has deleted their entire account off social media. So take that for what it matters.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, I don't know what happened with. I don't know what happened to the couple people that posted about Jameis standing in the student union yelling what he yelled, but I'm sure their social media accounts were ravaged for a few days, just like this person's was. Yeah. If you get the everybody's favorite in trouble, you're gonna feel some backlash. And the guy was just like. I'm sure he didn't even have a second thought to it. He's like, man, I just want to take a picture with you, coach. You're an awesome guy. And I'm sure Dabo was genuinely nice to him.
Apparently, the phrase "Football Matters" is used as a slogan by the National Football Foundation, which, according to its website, is a nonprofit educational organization that runs programs designed to use the power of amateur football in developing scholarship, citizenship, and athletic achievement in young people.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, just got to be careful out there, Dabo. Watch your back, man.
Yeah, everybody's coming for you, buddy. Everybody's coming for you.
But yeah, I mean, again, I think the whole situation with his assistant coach using the word that you put it, you said it quite well the other day about the word that no one should ever use, the N-word. I thought that they took that thing was scrutinized for a bit. That was on the ticker. That was on the ticker a lot longer than Marvin and Mike Norvell's dust up was. That was. I think it reached as high as like the number 3 bullet point on ESPN.com. I don't think Marvin was above the 5th one, and they have, I think, 6 bullet points. So, and my whole argument was the fact that somebody was when the whole thing happened, late Wednesday night with Marvin and Mike Norvell, it was, we'll see how, truly objective ESPN is by the way they'll handle this. And I'm like, this is absolutely going to get picked up. I'm like, you're talking about the head coach, first year, with the star player kind of getting into a little bit of a tiff on the internet, whereas you're talking about, and again, listen, I'm not saying that what Mike Norvell's transgression is nowhere near, not same zip code, planet, galaxy as to what the Clemson coach did, but you're talking about something that happened in 2013, and it was an assistant coach, like a tight ends coach, recruiting coordinator, tight ends coach, special teams, tight ends coach, and it happened 4 years ago, and it was with a player that's not even playing football anymore. Now, if that was I don't know, like Sammy Watkins or something like that, I think it probably would even had a little bit more sort of sizzle to it. But I think when you're making the decisions like at ESPN and you're kind of weighing these things in terms of like the actors that are involved and the timeliness of it, I think that's why I was concerned about the way the Florida State situation was going to get handled. But again, I don't think Florida State really took much of a black eye nationally. There was a little bit, Bomani and a couple people were, stirring some stuff up where it sounded like, there's no way Mike Norvell's going to be able to, rebound from this. But, again, I just think it was one step backwards and ultimately 2 steps to the front.
And I think Bomani backtracked a little bit after he saw, number one, how the rest of the team started handling it, how Marvin handled it. Once he saw Norvell's tweet that he had sent out, I think he backtracked. And it came out as well as, again, like we said the other day, on Wednesday night, where it looked like, and then where it ended up, it couldn't have gone any better. Not to not to dismiss it down to that, what it matters to a football program, but it just couldn't. It looked like it was really there was a chance it could really blow up, and it didn't. It got solved within 12 to 14 hours. And Dabo is just spiraling out of control. I don't see any way he gets himself out of this. It's Dabo's going to have it's just an odd time, man. And I don't even know what to say on it. But if you're on Twitter or on social media enough, and thankfully for Saturday and Sunday, I was off it a good bit because I was at the park watching my kid get sick and then get a crotch rash. But if playing baseball, but if people that missed the beginning of the show, but if you look at Twitter and you look at what happened, was it Iowa where all the kids came out?
Oh yeah,
and you're seeing this stuff start to happen around the country, and it's players feeling emboldened and feeling like they have the power, and they don't have all the power, but they have some power. They've certainly had more power than they ever have. Not just with name, image, and likeness, but they have a bigger platform. They have a bigger way to get their message out. 25, 30 years ago, 1989, how was Odell Hagens going to, he'd have to talk to a reporter. He had no other, what's he going to do? Just skywrite it somewhere? He couldn't get his message out unless he was talking to a reporter. Now they can be around the world in half a second if they tweet something. Yeah. So these players are starting to realize that. They've grown up in the social media age. They understand the importance of it. They understand how it can resonate. And some of them are going to speak out now. And, the coaches and the administrators and everyone else at these and colleges are a little different because still theoretically, I know they get scholarships. I know they get stipends. But by and large, these are unpaid athletes. Meanwhile, they get coached a lot of times, especially head coaches, are usually white, and they're all millionaires. And most of the roster, or at least a good chunk of every roster in the ACC, SEC, the Power Five, are African American. And there is a weird dynamic there. The NFL is the same way. It still has a very white power structure with head coaches and general managers, but the players are getting a lot of money. So there's a different dynamic than when it's a quote unquote unpaid amateurs, unpaid football players, and white coaches that are all making they're not all white, but all these guys are rich now, and so this is our new reality. I'm not commenting on it. Don't email me anything. I'm just saying that's the new reality that these coaches all have to deal with. And if you don't believe that, open your eyes because it's happening every day. It's happening every hour. Somebody from a different school is tweeting something about something a coach did or said.
Utah's defensive coordinator is, I think, taken a leave or been placed on leave because of something he did in 2013.
Right. And it was something, again, it's a word you can't say. Apparently, he texted it to the recruit, thinking he was texting it to other coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, God,
you should be fired.
Come on, man.
If for using that word, you should be fired. But then on top of that, just the fact that you're that stupid. That you don't even know what you're texting to
Well,
people.
we've all sent texts, not those texts. We've all sent texts to maybe talk trash about a friend, and we accidentally send it to the friend. It's like, oh, dude, sorry, man. Nope. I'm having fun. We're having a good time. You get the joke, right? So but that's happening now. Like, why did it take 6-7 years for that to happen? Well, players are now feeling more and more emboldened to do this, and that's just our new reality. That's just the way it is. I'm not saying I'm certainly not saying it's wrong, but that even transgressions from 6 or 7 years ago, like I think the Iowa strength coach is more recent.
Yeah.
But the Utah coach, the
Clemson
guy coach,
13.
Yeah, but I mean, Anyway, but you understand why a player would still be upset about that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, my thing, I probably got way too much of a tangent, just the way it's being handled. I mean, I think I only have hate in my heart for Florida to like really be like irrationally hateful towards people. But like the Clemson things, I just think about if there's a photo of Norvell that surfaced with him having a shirt on that said "Football Matters," like I would not be upset at him. So when I see like Florida State fans getting into a tizzy over like, Dad, look at this idiot. But at the same time, though, I would, and this is, I mean, I don't even want to go into that, but I just think, I don't know. I just think we need to start winning football games so that we don't have to try to root for things that happen off the field to catch up. Let's just catch up on the field,
Right.
Instead of hoping that people shoot themselves in the foot doing stupid things. So, with that said, so we're healthy by all reports, right? Like Florida State, all the players came back, everybody tested fine. Although, would we even be told? Because Alabama had 5 people, and now we saw Auburn have 3 people that tested positive for COVID. So, that thing is still kind of lurking in the shadows. And I wonder if, has any of our optimism been misguided because, it's almost fallen off the front page, but, hey, it's still around there, or are we still thinking full go and we're all happy?
No, I definitely think full go. I think when you see these numbers, it should almost make you feel better about what it's going to look like in August and September, because I think, man, and again, I know you know this, but I'm not a infectious disease doctor,
epidemiologist.
I almost got that degree, but I went a different route and went to sports journalism. But the fact that most of the ones I've read, most of them were asymptomatic, right?
I think so, yeah.
Almost all, every time they post this and say, hey, 4 members of a team tested positive, they were all asymptomatic. Well, it just makes me feel like a lot more of us have had it than we'll ever know. And so if they're not showing symptoms and they're quarantined, then it's not a deal breaker. I just don't see it as being a deal breaker. I think, obviously younger people handle it better. Being in better shape helps a lot. Being in the heat probably helps a lot, or being in the summer anyway. And I think every school, including Florida State, is going to have a quote-unquote breakout of 3 or 4, 2 or 3. It seems like that's what this disease is. But if you just shoo them away and keep them quarantined for 2 weeks, it shouldn't shut down anything. And I think we're going to realize, like I said, that maybe more than just Baselli's had it on this team.
Yeah.
And it didn't affect them like it affected him.
Do you think there'll ever be a point where teams will just be like, hey, I'll let my sick guys play if you let your sick guys play? I'm fine with it. You fine with it? Or would that be too...
I don't think that's a little too callous. Because, again, all those sick guys do have grandparents and maybe a fat friend. And you don't want them to be in real danger. So, no, I don't think you do that. And I think that's the only concern I have. Because, as Ira wrote, Florida State is opening its own testing site.
Yes.
On campus for students and athletes. And I think he said even for part of the local community, although we don't know how many tests they're going to have. By the way, huge weekend for tests. Our biggest one by far, 550,000 on Friday, 540-something thousand on Sunday, or on Saturday. Just huge numbers. I think it was 1.5 million were tested in the 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we're getting almost to a point, not quite there, almost to a point where everybody that needs a test can get a test. And
do they want all of us to go get tested? Even if we're not symptomatic, am I being a bad citizen by not getting tested?
No, I don't think so. I just, I guess they could ask us to all do that. But all the football players are going to be tested. But my point was, so if Florida State has its own testing site and it has access to, 5,000 a week or 8,000 a week, whatever it is. Well, is NC State have that same capability? Are you going to go in blind against NC State? And then NC State might have 5 or 6 guys on their team that they don't even know are sick, and then they get Florida State infected. I think there's got to be some – it won't matter how much – Florida State could test every day, which would be great. Test the players every day before practice. They're going to love those Q-tips up the nose. That looks like a lot of fun. But is NC State doing that? Because if they're not, then all you really know is that your players don't have it, but they're going to be grunting and sweating and breathing on 30 guys on another team that might have it. So hopefully we'll get to a point where every school, at least in the ACC, has the same access to the same number of tests. Because it is awesome that Florida State is going to have its own testing site, but if NC State doesn't, then it only does so much good,
Right. We're just out here showing off, building infrastructure and mobilizing. Just doing it big. Doing it big as one man once said.
They're not doing the football facility, but they got the testing facility up now.
Right.
I'm sure that'll be named after Al Dunlap too. The Al Dunlap testing facility.
The Al Dunlap Memorial.
Right.
Nose
testing
swab.
Facility. Right.
Oh, hey, so apparently Marvin's going to be interviewed this morning on ACC Network. I wonder if I have to wake up for that.
Probably not.
8:30. That's really early.
Is he really? He's
Yeah.
got what, on like the Packer and Durham show?
Yeah, I think so. ACC Network
okay.
and simulcast on SiriusXM.
See,
channel.
man, to me, that should be so encouraging to everyone. I didn't know that. And obviously everybody knows I'm a huge fan of the ACC Network. Their programming has just been top-notch this whole quarantine. Excuse me, but edit that out, Aslan, if you could. But
you're clearing your throat, or you?
clearing my throat, yes, not the ACC Network part. But imagine a player doing what Marvin did in the Jimbo Fisher era. Would we have ever been able to talk to him again? And meanwhile, Marvin Wilson's going to be on a national show on Monday. I mean, I just think, number one, every coach should have all the trust in the world in Marvin Wilson. That guy's not going to embarrass you. He's a smart, bright guy, very thoughtful, all that.
What if he goes like Kendall Roy, season 2 finale, Succession?
Oh boy, don't get no spoilers, man. No spoilers. But I guess there's a chance he could do that.
All right,
but doesn't that make you think Norvell is so secure in what he's doing? He's secure in who Marvin Wilson is, but he's also secure in what has happened over the last 4 or 5 days that I don't know how.
I mean, he's secure in who he is, Mike Norvell. Because, I mean, if he was being fake, I mean, Marvin would be able to see through it, and he would not let Marvin go on a national platform and talk about what he's inevitably going to be asked about.
And for the people that would be like, well, hey, Marvin can do what he wants. He's a grown man. Agreed 100%.
Yeah.
But in these instances, the ACC Network would not reach out to Marvin Wilson. They're not going to like DM him. They're not going to slide in those DMs and be like, hey, man, we got a slot for you at 8:30 on Monday morning. No, they call Florida State. They call the Sports Information Office. They ask if Marvin would be willing to come on. The FSU SID then goes to Norvell, and I'm sure, and says, hey, Packer and Durham want Marvin on at 8:30. Is that cool with you? So I don't want it to seem like Mike Norvell is this puppeteer that gets to determine what all his players do, and they have to abide by what he does. I'm just saying this is how interviews work in our business, especially a big interview like that. So Norvell would sign off on it on the sense that that's who they ask for permission. They go to the FSU SID, and so to me, just so that's what it means. That's Norvell doing that, man. That's I don't want to gas him up too much. Gassing is good, right? Or am I wrong there? When you gas someone up, or are you being negative towards them?
I think isn't it like patronization almost? Isn't it like the hip way of saying like you're almost patronizing someone, you're gassing them up. Like you really don't believe what you're saying, you're just kind of hyping them up.
Is that gaslighting too?
Maybe that's where it stems from.
Oh, all right. Well, then I'm sure I used that wrong. But either way, for Norvell to do that shows how much he believes in Marvin, and shows how much he believes in what he's building, and that he's so comfortable in his own skin and comfortable in where his program is right now that I hate to use the word allow, but that he would be open to something like that. There you go.
Do you think Marvin Wilson's draft stock has slipped, Corey?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Is he still going to be able to wreck centers and guards?
Right. Yeah. No, there's a lot of that. Like, he's ruined the reputation of this university. His draft stock's taking a hit. It's like, yeah, man, not really. Not really, man.
Not a chance.
Not really. There was something else I want to talk about. Yeah. So I think we're going to maybe start unveiling the top 40, but I don't want to reveal Corey's top 40 quite yet.
That was nice.
How would this rank up? And you've been doing this for 3 years now for the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source, Warchant.com. Was this the toughest, easiest in terms of maybe like your top 10 and just the fifth and the 40 overall?
They're all tough, man. I mean, you're talking about half the team. And how do you determine the left guard versus the starting corner?
Right.
Like who's more important? It can be tough. What I try to do is I don't want to look foolish, because we all know how everybody goes back at the end of the year and opens up our top 40s from the summer and compares and contrasts how well we did. Right. But it was really tough because I think they have a lot of good football players, man. For a team that's 18 and 20 in the last 3 years, I think they have some NFL talent. I think there's probably a dozen guys at least that are NFL players, maybe more. But the 3 quarterbacks makes it really hard. 4 quarterbacks makes it really hard. Really hard.
Yeah.
Plus, where do you put like the left tackle like who might not have played much in his career, but he's really important. Where do you put all the transfers? They've never had a season like this. They might have. What are they going to have? 10 or 11 transfers?
They already have 9, I think.
Yeah, so they're going to finish probably with 10 transfers. You would imagine. Most of them will be eligible, but where is Miko Dotson, who led the country in interceptions, but did it at FAU? Where does he, or FIU? FAU.
FAU, yeah, the FAU.
The FAU. Where does he fit in? How do you rank him? How important is he to this team? It was difficult, but our job is extremely difficult, and people need to be grateful that we provide the kind of content that we do.
That we do the strain. Yeah, I mean, my thing was, like, I've never done it before, so I didn't really know how to go about properly designating and weighting it, because, like, is somebody that's in the starting 22 more important just by default because they're a starter than somebody who's a backup but might be able to make a bigger impact? It could, because obviously I think there's going to be 2 running backs that are probably going to get the ball a lot. I think there's probably going to be a third guy that's going to be involved into the mix. So, is your backup running back who's not part of your starting 22, is he going to be, can I put him ahead of the lowest rung starter, like your, let's just say, sorry, nothing personal, like Brady Scott? How would, how I had to kind of work myself through that. But I think, I felt good about it, but then, Gene pushed back on my number 1 guy, and then I kind of did a little bit juggling and stuff, because I just think ultimately, like, my whole thing was, like, who's going to play, I guess, like, if they play to their potential, will they make, I guess, like, will they affect the most, the outcome of a game the most? That's kind of my whole thing. Like, I don't like Marvin, God bless him, God love him. Again, I stare at the ball too darn much, and then I'm going to look at Pro Football Focus every Sunday and see that he's graded out at 92, but Florida State still surrendered 35 points and lost the game. It's like, how much, how important was he? They would have lost 42 to 21 instead of 35 to 21 or 35-28. So I kind of get into that thing. Not that I think that's going to happen a lot. I'm just using a sort of example, people.
I would say so. Like, the one that I thought about a lot, and I don't remember where I ranked them, and also I wouldn't tell you anyway. But Kendo,
yeah,
somebody like Kendo, somebody like Gaynor, somebody like J-Rob, and then I remember specifically 2 years ago, I had Jawan Williams like in my top 8. Because I was like, this dude needs to be a good player, because this offensive line is horrific. If they can get this kid that hasn't played much to blossom into the guy that they act like he could be, the big high 4-star recruit that they had with his athletic and big, then that would be huge for this team. He was an important player. He just wasn't any good. You know what I mean? Like, how important he was mattered. So He was bad, and that the team ended up being bad. It wasn't all on Jawan's shoulders. I'm not saying that. But if he'd have been like a NFL-type player, an NFL-type lineman, that would have been huge for that team in 2018. Instead, he was having to pick up Francois off the turf every other play. Was he the one that Francois?
No, it's Bello.
That was Bello?
Yeah.
Oh, man. What names from our recent past?
Oh, gosh. The Carrier Dome. Got it?
Yeah.
Maybe we can avoid that house of horrors. Maybe Syracuse won't, maybe they won't want to play a football game this year.
I'd be interested to know. I mean, if they're not going to let all the fans in the stadium, you could play it anywhere. What do they care? They ain't going to have any fans there. They could just have it just come down to Tallahassee or do it. Just an outdoor stadium somewhere.
Get out
of
that gross. That gross dome is like the absolute epitome of a petri dish. There's no central heating and air in that thing.
That was the site of Terrell Buckley's most famous punt return.
Also, White Sexton had a win up there.
That's right, he did. Everybody remembers that. Was that 04, the 04 Syracuse game? That's right.
Wasn't it like a Friday night game or something, or Thursday night game?
No, I think it was a Saturday night game, and I think they just played horribly. That was a bad Syracuse team, and Florida State barely won. That's right. I forgot about that. And Jameis had a big day there in 14. Like the day after a whole bunch of New York Times stuff came out, he went out there and was played really well. Just
your boy Mario Pender had a good game, did he not?
He did, and that was Pender played really well, and then I think he got hurt in that game, and then they had to play Dalvin.
They played that freshman.
That was the end of Mario Pender at Florida State.
He actually ended up at Glenville State, I think, like Rick Trickett's alma mater, which I think Rick Trickett actually was a coach at last year, or at least 2 years ago.
Oh, all right. Well, at least you think a lot of things.
All right.
You could look it up, man. You could look it up, Aslan.
Well, also, I did want to mention that since we are talking about the top 40 and this whole poor Chubba sort of expectations I'm putting on this poor kid, based off, what, Aslan, looking at Huddle film? Yeah, that's right. My guy, Scott Satterfield, from Louisville, wanted him. So that's a big part of the reason, too, why I probably placed too much value, too much expectation on this poor kid. But that also counts for something, too, in my world, for whatever that's worth, as I'm trying to find these.
Hey, while you're doing that,
NAIA websites don't have the most navigation-friendly. Maybe I'll just go, I'll hit roster. And then there we go. And then from roster, I'll scroll all the way to the bottom and I'll see the coaches. Yeah, man, Rick Trickett, your assistant head football coach, run game coordinator, and offensive line coach. Wonder if he's making as much money there with all those responsibilities as he did in Tallahassee.
I'm guessing no chance. Yeah. But, hey, good call on Mario Henderson. He was from Lehigh Acres. He played, it looked like 5 seasons in the NFL.
There you go. Well, you
4
think
with the Raiders.
I said that with great confidence.
Yeah, you crushed it. He was a third-round pick. 4 with the Raiders, 1 with the Chargers, 1 with the Virginia Destroyers, 1 with the Utah Blaze, then the Colorado Ice in the same year.
Oh.
And then played 2 years with the Tampa Bay Storm, but was just a practice squad member.
Well, you got to get him where
you can fit 4
in.
years in the NFL, man. That's good for him.
Here's my favorite part of Rick Trickett's bio. Trickett's coaching performance in 2015 will go down as one of the most impressive feats of his career. Despite returning just 1 starter, no seniors, and juggling 6 different starting lineups that featured 9 different starters because of injuries, the Seminole offensive line opened holes for Dalvin Cook, who tallied school records in rushing yards, total yards, en route to All-American honors.
Yep.
So, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, we all remember the only way Dalvin was going to make yards is if you gave him a big hole. He needed like an alley that a truck would get through. He very rarely made people miss. He didn't run around. He didn't outrun anyone. So you got to give the offensive line credit for all of that. But I know
you say that though. Like,
yeah, he was
16,
okay
when he would gash Clemson. Like, he would have those runs around the end where it's like, dude, he had. They did their job every now and then. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to denigrate the greatness of Dalvin, but like, it wasn't like he was just running behind trash all the time.
No, and the 15 line was not awful. The 16 line started getting there. And then 17-8, we know the history of it. But yeah, I think they did well on the zone blocking at times. And man, he hit that. Gosh, that was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Watching him roll it to the left or roll it to the right, and then just cut and go is just it was like awe. It was awesome. I don't mean that as like a surfer dude. I mean it was just awesome to watch, as in it inspired awe, because you just don't see bodies move that fast and that quickly, going from cruising at 10 or 15 miles an hour and then up to 90. Just incredible. But the pass blocking has left a lot to be desired for quite a while now.
Yeah. He's got more ink in his bio here on their website than he does for 13 and 14. Like, there's a whole graph dedicated to 15, and then they just combine 13 and 14 into a smaller paragraph.
Well, that's weird because all those guys were drafted. They were all in the league. Yeah. Like, one of his guys was a starting center for a Super Bowl champion and won the Remington. They don't mention any of that.
No.
Like, Cam Irving was a first-round pick. Sork won the Remington.
The only
Trey
person
Jackson won like the Jacobs Trophy twice.
Yeah. The only person mentioned by name was Rodney Hudson.
Oh. Not Stork and not Cameron Irving.
No, nobody else
Trey
on the
Jackson.
offensive line was mentioned by name. The only people mentioned by name, Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook, and Rodney Hudson.
Let's go, Glenville State. Get your stuff together. Come on, man.
Oh, man. I wonder if he's still there. This is for the 2019 season. I can't pull up the 2020 roster because that's not the way these I think it's NAIA school. That's not how they roll. All right. Actually, I'm sorry. They're Division II. I did not mean to denigrate the work of Rick Trickett, Mario Pender, other greats at Glenville State. They're Division II, so they are an NCAA.
Right. And everybody knows that's a huge gap between Division II and NAIA. Hey, what did you think of the Bruce Lee documentary? I didn't get to watch it.
I think it's maybe the most boring 30 for 30.
Okay.
I I heard a podcast that Russillo had a podcast a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, with somebody like one of the more authoritative biographers of Bruce Lee, and that was, so I guess there was maybe some spoilers to it, but I thought that was more compelling than what the 30 for 30 was.
By the way, Russillo and Simmons must have crushed it last week in that podcast, huh? Like, I didn't listen to it, but I know the title of their podcast was like A Dark Day for America or something, and then I know that Russillo, I clicked on the one he had the next one after that, because I think he had Bruce Feldman on and they were talking about college football.
Right.
And he starts off and it's like this serious 90-second tone
crazy.
about how awful he was.
I didn't think he was that bad.
I didn't hear it. I didn't listen to any of it.
Yeah, no, I didn't really think he was that bad. He does, I mean, I don't know. Everybody leans one way or the other. I think he really tries to play it too much down the middle. It's like, hey, man, it's 2020. You can admit where you are on the political spectrum. It's fine. Like, we get it. Nobody is down the middle. So I don't know if he was, like, upset him. But I didn't think he said anything.
You know what's weird about that? And I think listeners can appreciate this coming from me. Is like I listen to the Russillo and Bill Simmons
white
podcast.
Guy. Yeah, you're
right.
a token white guy.
But I listen to that occasionally. And I saw that they were going to be talking about that, and I'm like, man, I don't need to hear from these guys about this particular subject. I just don't. I'm just not interested in their viewpoints on it. It doesn't mean they don't have the right to have it, and I'm certainly not one of those stick to sports people. Just like I wouldn't tell someone, hey, man, you don't get to have a political opinion. Stick to accounting. Like that's just not how life is. But I was also like, man, I don't tune into that podcast to hear that from those two guys, and that's why you and I. When we comment on things normally, it's always in the auspices of sports. The sports is the big umbrella. Like this show with Dabo, or the last show with Marvin and Norvell. It's all, to me, it's all sports related. And I'm not saying we would never just talk about politics, but I really did appreciate some people that would be like, man, we tune in to Wake Up Warchant to hear you talk about Brady's, rashes and exposing himself to truckers. And the double off the fence. There was a lot of good stuff in there too. Not so much where you stand on the political spectrum. Not that we would ever, I don't know. It's just I kind of did appreciate that a little bit. Like, man, people might be interested in that from me, but I don't know that that's what this show is. And I'm certainly not interested in Russillo and Simmons' views on the matter. I don't know why. They're grown-ups. I guess I could be, but I'm just not. You
know what you should do if you have a minute? Go listen to that podcast, but listen to the last 15 seconds. Just listen to Simmons' sign-off. You would think, it was so melodramatic, his sign-off. Just like he just had this sigh and like, all right, that's it. Just be safe out there, everybody. And we'll talk. It was just it's so melancholy and everything. It's I might have oversold it, but I remember listening because it's like a 2.5 when they get their Sunday podcast, like a 2.5 hour Megapalooza podcast. So it breaks up over a course of several days. So you don't really get to ingest it and digest it all in the same sitting. So it's like 3 days later, and then you get just part of it out of context, and it's like, hey man, come on, what wasn't that bad? You guys just got done talking about like redrafting the 1999 NBA draft, and you're coming
That's right, the redraftable stuff. That's right. And I don't want people to think that obviously the stuff that's going on in our country I don't care about or isn't important. It's obviously much more important than what we do. But I feel like we mostly are we try to be a distraction from that.
Well,
not that we don't care, because obviously we care.
What's your distraction then? Because I don't know. I think it's malarkey. I think people stick to sports when it's that you say the stuff that they don't agree with. But if you do, it's like, oh hell yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that you're on the right side of this. But if it's the opposite side, then it's like, oh yeah, stick to sports, bro. Right. That's the thing. Like, I've never sat down for a game and like, oh man, my life is so stressful and everything around me right now is spinning out of control. I just want to sit down and see how Greg Maddux is going to do against the Reds in the middle of June. I've never, sports is never, I love sports, but it's not some sort of emotional escape for me. I've always just loved the competition and seeing people at the highest levels of their sport compete and just the drama behind it. It's never been like this, Linus and his blanket.
Okay. All right. Well, that's.
I don't know if we're doing a live thing this week, but if we are, look for it somewhere. Otherwise, War Chat drops Wednesday with Corey, Gene Williams, and Christian Ponder talking about the 2010 Florida victory.
Did you watch that? Did you watch any of that yet?
Corey, I edited it.
I didn't know if it was already edited. I know you don't watch it for your pure enjoyment.
Yeah. No, I did. I edited. I would rank. I'm trying to think who my favorite one was. It's not my favorite, but I think it's a really good one. It's just, this one I like it because it's less about the game. Because I don't know, man. I was working, so 2010 to 2014, when I was on TV full time, grinding away, I really didn't get to watch a lot of Florida State games, so I don't recall a lot of these moments. You guys are talking about the Willie Halstead catch. I remember them snuffing out the fake punt and then hitting Rodney Smith on the touchdown the very next play. And I remember Jeff Demps getting blown up quite literally by Nick Moody. It was Moody, right? It wasn't Nigel. Right?
Yeah,
Nigel was
it was Moody.
So I remember some of those things, but you guys are talking Willie Halstead play and this third down conversion. But then there's more of a big picture. I like it when he starts talking about Jimbo and how awesome Jimbo is. That's really my favorite part. Actually, by the way, you should watch it because I did a little special stuff every time he talks about Jimbo. So,
oh boy,
and you won't be able to appreciate it if you listen to the podcast. So watch the video.
For the folks that don't know, you really do need to go. If you're listening to this, you're a big enough Florida State fan, you need to go watch all these. They're all good. They're 30 to 45 minutes of your time. They're about great moments in Florida State history with the players that participated. One of them is Mark Richt. But Aslan does do a really good job of editing. And in the what was the 90? Well, it was the Kes McCorby.
Yeah.
And then you put a picture of 18-year-old Corey Clark into the video.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Aslan. I meant to tell you that was funny when I saw that. That was a nice touch. But you do a good job with those. You really do. It could just be, I think most websites would just be the three of us talking, record it to Zoom, put it out there, you guys enjoy. But Aslan goes the extra mile and adds some stats, adds some graphics, some pictures. It's good stuff. You guys should watch it. It's the best Florida State content you're going to get on YouTube.
Darn tune. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, by the way, if you're not. There's over 18,000 of you now, which is amazing. I don't even know if we were at 10,000 when I took over this job.
We were at 68. We were at 680 when you took over.
Well, not that low, but still.
Oh, yeah. I know. I was just kidding. But hey, it has gone up a lot, and mostly thanks to me. But you do a nice job as well.
Yeah.
So
I try. All right, but anyways, they'll drop Wednesday. We'll do Renegade Express Friday. Post your questions over on the Tribal Council. And, maybe we'll do a live thing. Maybe we won't. But I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to want to look at on warchant.com this week, pretty much. So do check it out. And in the meantime, here's Michael Langston talking about the latest recruit, at least as of early Monday morning, Omarion Cooper. Enjoy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into this edition of Warchant TV. I'm Aslan Hajavani, joined by recruiting analyst for Warchant.com, Michael Langston. If you're not a member of the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source, use the promo code Warchant30 for 30 free days of access. All right, Michael, Florida State and Mike Norvell coming off a pretty busy, active week. Last week, a lot of headlines made for not the best reasons, but I think a question on a lot of people's minds were, could the whole Norvell, Marvin Wilson sort of misunderstanding, miscommunication cause some bad momentum for recruiting in the near term? That question has been answered for us, I think, to a certain degree here on Sunday, because Florida State went ahead and got a commitment from a recruit that you feel pretty good about, Omarion Cooper. How did this sort of recruitment wind up happening and allowing Florida State to make the win, if you will?
Yeah, he's been a guy they've been on for a while. He visited early in the spring, probably around the junior day time. I think he visited, gave an indication after that visit that FSU was leading. He's kind of visited a couple of times this spring, kind of gave indication, like I said, FSU's his favorite school growing up. I think he's there's already on the team like Quayshawn Fuller and different guys. So I think things were trending that way. And then he went kind of quiet and then started picking up offers like from Miami recently and other schools. I think FSU felt good, but he kind of just went quiet. So everyone kind of didn't know when he was going to make a decision. But very good cover guy, very good cover corner. Certainly a really solid addition for Adam Fuller, who's very close to Omarion Cooper as far as relationship. So good pickup.
All right. I mean, you mentioned some of the things that you like about him as we pull up his film here on Huddle. You think that even though he's a 3-star right now, he's probably poised to receive that 4th star, I guess, when evaluation and his season starts and there's more tape formed on him. But when you look at his film now, I mean, what do you think stands out and why do you think he'll ultimately get that 4th star?
Yeah, I think he's a 4-star talent. When you watch the way he tracks the ball, the way he turns his hips and turns around and finds the football, and his closing speed when the ball's in the air, he's right there on the receiver almost every play. When you watch every clip, and he's certainly excellent using his hands, getting off the line of scrimmage, closing on it, and not making a lot of mistakes when you see him in one-on-one coverage. He's right there every time. So I think those things stand out. I think what the Rivals guys probably want to see is, more physicality, more tackling, more activity on the middle route. We see him on the edge. I mean, yeah, Marion's dominating on the edge. We see all that. We see how he uses his hands. He pushes he keeps the receiver out of the play sometimes. So we see all that. Obviously, he's a tremendous athlete. Plays special teams, does a lot of there, but I want to see, I think the Rivals guys and myself want to see is what he does on those quick slant passes across the middle. And also just, is this guy a willing guy that's going to come in there and really stick you and make tackles? So that's kind of what I think Rivals is going to want to see. And if I think if he shows that, I think he'll certainly be a good shot at getting that 4-star.
One of the things that's encouraging to me, Michael, you've obviously seen a lot more film than I have, is just an actual cornerback playing cornerback, breaking up plays, tackling. I mean, I feel like so many guys, you see them playing wide receiver because half of these guys split time on both sides of the ball. And it's like, well, that's great. He's catching a pass.
Right.
Like, how good of a quarterback can he be? This ultimately gives Florida State now, Michael, 11 commitments for the class of 2021. Could this be another sort of momentum-building move for Norvell and the staff, you think, here? Is there anybody else that you think may jump on board here in the next few days? And you don't have to give out any names. I know you've been working on a hot board, but does this maybe create some momentum once again?
Well, I mean, it's their first corner. Obviously, FSU fans on our pre-recruiting board, they're like, another DB, but they're loading up at DB. But I think what it does is it speeds up the process of the remaining DBs. I mean, you're probably going to get one more safety, one more corner, I think, around that. So maybe two more at safety. But I think it speeds up the process of the defensive backs you pull. And then also I think it certainly helps you in the Southwest Florida area because Amarian is very popular around there. I would say watch out for Dakota Mitchell. He's committed to LSU, but he's a guy that's really close to Amarian. So FSU could turn the tide there. Like I said, Amarian is very popular in that Southwest Florida area. So he's a popular recruit. Now, recruiting-wise, we saw the stuff with the tweets and the Norvell, and obviously the first recruited impact was tight end Michael Trigg, who didn't have FSU in his top 10. So, yeah, it's going to affect people, but at the same time, I think for the majority, once these kids sit down and talk with the staff, I think you see emotions calm down, as we saw just how it was handled with FSU and how now it's turned into a positive with FSU. So I think you're going to have just every once in a while a kid like, a guy like Michael Trigg who, is affected by it, but you can still fix that problem. So I'm sure whenever he talks to the coaches, they'll be able to get that under control. But with Amarian, that's a very big pickup and certainly another great addition to that secondary.
There you go. Florida State, again, with their 11th commitment of the 2021 class, defensive back from Lehigh Acres, Amarian Cooper. Michael Langston breaking it down as he only can. Check out all of his work over on Warchant.com's premium recruiting board. As always, Michael, thanks for your time, man.
You got it, man.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.